Bologna is a vibrant Italian city full of useful energy and visitors from all over the world, but about 80 years ago, during the Second World War years, Bologna was an important point for the Axis powers. Because of its strategic location and a major railway node, all the supplies intended for German troops in Sicily were passing through Bologna. So it is understandable that in 1943 the destruction of the city was a major goal for the Allies and was entrusted to the United States Air Force. We are on the grounds of the modern-day seminary, but in the 1940s the seminary hosted military hospital Vittorio Putti aimed at curing injured and mutilated soldiers. The hospital had the capacity to accommodate up to 600 patients at once. But with the advancements of the war, it stopped being a safe place for people in need of medical help. Nobody could be sure that the building wouldn't be hit in the airstrikes despite the huge red crosses on its roof. A decision needed to be made immediately. It was decided to use the decorative cave of Villa Revedin, which is the former name of the complex occupied by the seminary and the hospital, to create an anti-aircraft shelter. The cave itself was enlarged with two underground tunnels dug inside the hills, thus using the natural landscape of the area and offering extra protection.
Shipment to Axis forces in Africa, and now a ringside seat above Genoa.
The shelter was completed in 1944 and had its own infirmary and an operating room. Despite it being the only military shelter in Bologna, hospital's director, Colonel Oscar Scaglietti, let in and even operated everyone, from hospital patients to women and even partisans. Now try to imagine the conditions under which the surgeries were done here. The lighting in the shelter was extremely scarce, and all the light here was provided by only 2 light bulbs. Here in the operating room and in the rest of the shelter, all the extra lighting was provided only by candles. Bunk beds for the injured patients were put along the walls of the shelter, but it is clear that at some point there were not enough places anymore. The ground levels above were different in various areas of the shelter. Like here, it was and still is about 15 meters high, and the hatch was actually made here, serving also as an emergency exit. Although the shelter was very well prepared for any outcome, it was built taking into consideration the weapons used in the First World War. If the more advanced weapons were to explode somewhere near here, it is unlikely we would be able to explore it today. The decorative cave itself was used as a rather spacious room for everyone seeking protection. It was already in use in the 17th century when it belonged to Count Revedin. And coincidentally, for 200 years, it was used as a place for votive offerings before it was turned to a war shelter. People came here looking for cure or protection long before the Second World War, but the only sign of its original purpose are the engravings made on the walls here long before it was repurposed into a war shelter. The oldest one dates back to 1885, and one of the latest were made just before the construction of the shelter on the 12th of April 1943. After the war, the shelter was shut down and used as a deposit area for almost 70 years before being rediscovered in 2015 and repaired to its original state. After all, the shelter tells a lot about the period of Italian history, and luckily It's not hidden anymore.
If you like this video and if you want to follow more stories like that, don't forget to put a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel, as well as follow us on Instagram. Thank you for watching and enjoy your day!